Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined with...
Hello, it's Scott, and we have big news today, so that's good for once.
There is almost too much news. Suddenly, we've gone from months and months of lovely, peaceful, we'll do a news episode and it'll be bang on an hour, if that, and it'll be an easy recording session, brilliant, to suddenly, here's every single piece of news that you've ever speculated about come true at once. There's too much, and before we dive into it, though, I just want to say that... my book is out. You can buy my book. It's out now. Can you taste the
Upside
color
down.
orange? It's how you read it. It's out now. You can buy it. So make sure that you go out and you do it so that we can keep writing them, because I'm still going to keep writing them. But buy it. Please buy my book. Okay? For audio listeners, I threw my book against the whiteboard.
It's also your birthday, hurrah!
Well, it was my birthday yesterday when this comes out, but yes,
True,
it's my
but
birthday
still.
today when we record it. Yay! 24 years young.
You don't look it.
That's pretty exciting. I know. I had a kid, because I work with some kids every now and then at my work. I had a kid tell me that I look 50 years old, and I tell him that it's just a complete lie. I don't think he's ever seen someone that's 50 years old.
When you started that sentence with "I had a kid," I was surprised.
Yeah, I'm 24 now. Guess what? I just got a kid. It just came in the post. But, okay, let's dive into the news with our first story, which is probably a large part of why anybody here is interested in listening to it.
We just want to hear about your book. Carry on talking about your book.
Okay, sure.
That's
We'll do a whole episode where I'll just read you my book.
Yeah.
That'll be the whole episode. Yeah.
Sounds great.
That we'll trick you. We'll say, "Oh, guess what? There's a new Doctor Who trailer out. Let's talk about it." And then I just read you the book. And then, like, in the next episode, when we go back to breaking down War Games or whatever, we'll be like, "Welcome to War Games parts fucking, 7 and 8. And guess what? It's just me reading my book again. That's the podcast now. It's just me reading my book. So, congratulations.
I welcome it.
but
I don't have to do much.
There is a new Doctor Who trailer for the new series of Doctor Who, Series 1. Interested to see what this new show Doctor Who's going to be about. They released a trailer, and when they released this trailer, I found it on Twitter. Is where it was posted by some random page being like, "Hey, the Doctor Who trailer's here," and then it wasn't posted on the official BBC YouTube channel until an hour later.
Yeah,
you know?
it was ridiculous. It's clear about Disney Plus made the trailer, I guess. Because the BBC were very slow to upload it, and when they did upload it, they had to cut out the Disney Plus logo at the end, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's also Doctor Who being a Disney Plus show it feels wrong. It feels wrong. It's
I was on Disney Plus Canada last night. And I was like, oh, Doctor Who's here, and I was baffled for 2 seconds until I remembered. It's such a weird thing to find.
Yeah, it really is. I'm curious as to how much of a success it's going to be, but let us dive into
this trailer.
I want to watch this trailer again.
At this point, this trailer has 4.7 million views, which is
but it only has
insane.
17,000 thumbs up.
Yeah, because most of the views are counted because Disney Plus puts it as an advert in front of other YouTube videos, which is still really impressive that Disney Plus are pushing this show in front of more eyeballs. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, hopefully it pays off. We shall see. But let's watch this trailer again because I need to know what's happening in it. So the way that I really like the way that this trailer opens, where it literally has the TARDIS crashing into Disney Plus. You know, you get the Disney Plus logo, the TARDIS crashes into the building, and then we go right up, and Ncuti Gatwa opens up the door. It's a great intro to the trailer because it's like, oh shit, the Doctor has arrived here now at Disney. You know, I think it's a really energetic way.
There seems to be a lot less traditional TARDIS landings in this current iteration of Doctor Who, because how often has the TARDIS crash landed in a location? Hardly ever, unless there's something really wrong.
Yeah, handful of times, yeah.
But like, I guess Ncuti Gatwa was a bad pilot. He almost murders these unit people. How convenient that nobody was in the TARDIS path. Like,
it was he planned out the landing. It takes skill to make something look amateur, you know. Speaking of things looking amateur, did you see there was a lot of discussion about this when this trailer dropped, specifically because we get to a bit where it's like cutting through like various sci-fi and like history locations and things like that. When they end up in the dinosaur land, everything is way overexposed. Yes, there was a lot of people on Twitter that were going back and like color correcting it and being like, look, what have they done to this shot? They've completely ruined it. So I don't know if it's just a trailer thing, if it's just the company that edited the trailer fucked up the color grading or what, you know?
What it is that Disney Plus on the app have it as a HDR kind of setting where all the blacks are like the deepest blacks, all the whites are the whitest whites, you know, that kind of coloring. But for the YouTube version, they apparently didn't convert it properly, so instead everything is just washed out instead of like standard colorized, and I don't know how to explain it any more than I did, but
that's the type of professionalism and quality that I'm glad we can see now with the Disney budget behind Doctor Who. I'm glad that it's really paying off.
But apparently, if you do go on the Disney app, you can look at the trailer and it is proper. I'm surprised that they screwed up on the YouTube version. It's a shame, but it still looks good. It's still something I didn't notice until other people pointed it out, so who cares?
Yeah. There's a lot of the editing in this that I really like. There's a lot of like match cuts and things like that, and we see Ncuti in like a ton of different outfits. We see him standing, and this bit kind of annoyed me. We see him standing next to a projection of David Tennant's head. Why can't we escape David Tennant? Why can't we let him go? Why are we obsessed? Why out of all the Doctor? Like, I love David Tennant. I think he's great, but we just had 3 specials with him again coming back as the Doctor. Do we need to showcase, like, to communicate, like, oh, this guy is still a continuation? Do we need to show David Tennant again? I guess it's like maybe he's the most internationally recognized version of the Doctor. And, you know, it's basically a still image as well. So, like, maybe it's, you know, in the 11th hour, when Matt Smith, like, walks through all of them. Maybe it's something like that where it's going to flick through all of them, but they chose it to show David Tennant for the trailer because, you know, people would be like, I saw David Tennant.
The first time they did that was in The Next Doctor, and some super sleuths found out that image of David Tennant is from The Next Doctor. So it probably is just a montage of all the Doctors. Like, this is the Time Agent episode that's in the, you know, the Bridgerton set, and so I imagine the Time Agent is like, I have files on you, Doctor, and then it shows a hologram of all the Doctor's faces and stuff like that. Just before that, the TARDIS lands in Ruby's house, and it's way too big for the house, and it breaks through the ceiling. Like, Doctor, what are you doing?
He's very good with the TARDIS. I don't know what you're implying. He's the best pilot.
Also, I love the opening speech, but it's from like 8 different sources, and it really annoys me when trailers do that, because I immediately pointed out, like, why don't they just get Ncuti Gatwa in a recording booth or just in front of a microphone for like 10 minutes and just record a speech? I don't understand.
My guess is it's probably they can't do that because of like budgets or just scheduling conflicts, because I assume, Shooty's busy shooting season 6 of the show right now. So I don't know, maybe it's just that. It's also, it's so distracting because you get lines of dialogue that kind of form a sentence, but they end up sounding like this because they're from different lines of dialogue, and so it's so jumpy and strange, and the tone doesn't match throughout. And it completely takes me out of the trailer a lot of the time, where I'm like, this is we also get a fun scene with where Ruby stands on a butterfly and turns into a Silurian, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, this is the dinosaur scene, and I imagine this dinosaur scene is going to be the opening to episode 1, right? Because
I reckon, yeah, maybe that's the opening to episode 1, but I think that this trailer is edited in the same way that the show is going to go. So you open up and you've got like fun shenanigans with like Unit on Earth or something. You got like a somewhat grounded story, and then your next episodes you go a bit more wacky sci-fi, a wacky time travel. You're like, oh, we're with the dinosaurs. Oh, we're in Bridgerton. Oh, that's exciting. And then the episode after that, you get like, oh, wait, hang on, there's a monster here. Things are kind of spooky. Things are getting serious. And then the end arc of whoever the fucking lady was from the last special shows up, and then you get Shooty like shouting out his TARDIS in space and stuff. And that's when it's like, oh, the dramatic finale, and the trailers basically just showed us the entire series one.
I don't think so. They jump around too much for that, I think.
I think it's so linear. I think the trailer's so linear in tone, where it starts off like introduction, wacky, darkness, very serious at the end,
In tone, maybe, but they keep on cutting to the Beatles episodes at different points of the trailer, because the Beatles.
Sure, you get like your match. You get like your match cuts and stuff as well. But I think that tone is going to be something we see throughout. Also, they tease Peter Capaldi coming back. Did you catch that? Yeah, when from Matt Smith's Regeneration. 11's hours over now. It's time for 12 or whatever as the clock strikes 12 in this trailer. So.
So my theory about the dinosaur scene is that it is the opening to episode 1, because it feels like it's still trying to explain the rules of time travel to Ruby and the audience. And also, we both know that Disney requested that maybe Russell should do a bigger opening sequence for episode 1 that maybe isn't connected to the episode itself. I don't think we're going to spend an entire episode with the dinosaurs. So I think this is just going to be like a kind of like a Family Guy cutaway gag, kind of,
Yeah, like we've kind of seen them do cutaway gags before, like when the apple fucking fell on what's his knob's head.
Yeah,
with the Mavity sort of situation. You can also see in the dinosaur scene, there's a volcano erupting in the far background. So maybe that's got something to do with the shenanigans. It's good. Like she steps on a butterfly and like a volcano goes off, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta run away." Also, the dinosaurs kind of look like shit, but it's a TV streaming budget and a super wide shot. But I'm not that upset.
It looks fine. It looks like some of the best special effects we've done in a while.
Sure, I mean, it's still Doctor Who we're talking about, but yeah. There is some really nice cinematography. That is something that I'm excited about, because, living through the Chibs era, the camera work looks nicer. They got higher quality cameras, they lit scenes better, but everything was a fucking close-up. Now, we've got wide shots back. Wide shots are back. We can look at environments again, and everything looks lovely. But yeah, this trailer got me pretty excited. I liked most of it. There were little tiny nuggets of things like the dialogue editing and things like that I didn't like. I also don't like that it's coming out on May 10th. I want it now.
Yes, we will be discussing the release date. There was some controversy, but to go over some other things in the trailer.
Yeah. I just remembered the fucking controversy with the release date. I forgot about that.
I know, it's so forgotten at this point, but yeah, I guess we will talk about that. There's an old lady laughing at 1 minute 5 seconds in, and this is June Hudson, who she was the costume designer in Tom Baker's final season, actually, which is really cool because a while back Russell hinted that something from Tom Baker's era is going to come back, and this is her. It's really cool, and she's in the show because I think she did turn into an actress. And she also made a cameo in an episode of Class as well, so it's really cool to bring back faces that we haven't seen before, but that's connected to the old series. The Jinx Moonson stuff, the whole musical notes flying, is kind of cool. I love the.
Yeah, I like that shot. Yeah.
And then later on, we see Ruby kind of get tied up by the musical notes. I think that's really cool. It's a really interesting villain. I think she's going to be in the Beatles episode, so that's going to be fun.
There's also that line of dialogue when Ruby's mum is like, "You're going to keep her safe, aren't you?" And the doctor's like, "Of course, I'll never let her die." And the information that we already know about Ruby Sunday and Millie Gibson's not being so much in season 2, we could be like, I wonder what's going to happen.
I don't think she's gonna die. I think
I think she's just gonna leave or something.
Yeah, I think she's gonna have a Martha Jones kind of arc in the next season. So we're obviously keeping it under wraps because they don't want to hint towards her exit, essentially.
When she hasn't even properly started.
There's also a hint at what the Moffat episode might look like. It's the one with the Doctor standing on a mine in the background while everybody's trying to defend him. That apparently is going to be a Moffat episode, so that's interesting.
Spoilers, Moffat's coming back.
Yes, we'll talk about that a bit more. There's also seems to be a ghost coming out of Ringo Starr's drums. Did you see that shot?
Just like real life. Just like real life.
The theory
is for that?
It's like 107. The theory is that Jinx Moonson is going to turn all the Beatles into their musical instruments, which would be a cool concept.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. It's so strange that we're getting an episode that just straight up has this is the Beatles. Yeah. Like it feels like it's like The Simpsons, where it's like we're celebrity cameos now. We're like, let's go hang out with.
I mean, the show's always had celebrity cameos.
Yeah, sure. We've got the Titanic episode and things like that. But like episodes where the Doctor specifically goes to hang out with a famous band. You know, it's like the Beatles are visiting Doctor Who this week.
What else do we have here? We have the Doctor and Ruby in like a post-apocalyptic world, which appears to be from also the Beatles episode at 1 minute 30, and It seems to be one of those. Remember when we covered An Unquiet Dead? There was going to be a scene where Rose was going to be like, "Hey, I'm from the future. I know the day. I know nothing bad is going to happen." And then the Doctor apparently was supposed to take her to like a world where these events did happen, and the Doctor's like, "Yeah, this is what we're trying to stop." It seems to be like a similar kind of setup here, the Doctor taking the companion to the future to show, yes, this is going to happen if we don't stop it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
The Bridgerton episode seems to have bird ladies in it, which is kind of cool. The Beatles episode seems to be full-on musical, because we do have ladies dancing in the streets with umbrellas, like 1 minute and 54 seconds in. So I think it is going to be a full-on musical, which a lot of people are going to hate.
If it's not a full-on musical, it'll have full-on musical segments, you know, like maybe the villain's like power as she makes people sing and dance, you know. But yeah, I love musical episodes. I'm a big fan of them, so I'm going to love it. It's going to be the best episode ever. If you don't like musical episodes, what's wrong with you? Why do you hate fun? Why?
Oh, I mean, you hated the Goblin song, so...
Well, but that wasn't because it was a musical section. That was just because it was a shit song. It was because it sounded bad. It didn't sound nice to listen to. It was awful. I didn't hate it because they were singing. Like,
the final clip of the trailer is the TARDIS on a cliff with like moss on it. And I think this is going to be the episode where the Doctor isn't in it much because, of course, when we started filming, there were shooting commitments with sex education, so Ncuti Gatwa wasn't present for a lot of the filming. I think this is episode 4. And I think the theory
you
is...
also see there's a lot of flowers laid at the base of the TARDIS, so people have come to like pay respects and stuff.
And the theory is that the Doctor's dead in this timeline for like one episode, so it's kind of like a turn left situation, I kind of think, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And of course, seeing the TARDIS like this reminds me of a line from Wild Blue Yonder, where the Doctor's like, I wonder where the TARDIS goes at random. Maybe it lands in some outcrop by the sea, and there's a tribe, and they worship it for 100 years, and then they grow up, and then we try to burn it. Then they get wise and preserve it. So I think this might be an intentional callback, because it is by the sea.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting. I think overall it's a decent trailer. I'm like hesitantly excited by it. It's not the best trailer I've ever seen in the world. I'm looking forward to this new series of Doctor Who. I think I've tempered my expectations now that we've gone through the 60th and we kind of know the vibe and the tone that Russell has brought in for this new era of Doctor Who, most of which I like, some of which I don't. So I'm like, okay, we'll see what we'll see what this season's gonna bring. But I think if I was 12 years old watching this, I would be as excited as I was every single time I watched a Doctor Who trailer at 12 years old, you know?
Yeah, the trailer does what a trailer should do. It gives us enough information to get us excited. Doesn't tell us anything. Like, we don't know that much more than we did already, which is really cool. And it's probably one of the best trailers in a while for the show.
It's a decent trailer. I think the Doctor Who trailers are always good though. Like Flux got me hyped. Fucking the series before that got me hyped. It's hard to make, I think, a bad Doctor Who trailer because Doctor Who's just very cool and there's so much because it goes everywhere and does everything, so you can get so many interesting visuals and ideas put across, you know.
I miss those special trailers we did for like the first 4 seasons where it's just characters talking to the camera and we'll get cuts to like different episodes. Do you remember those? Like the Trip of a Lifetime trailer.
Oh yeah.
Some great stuff. We need more like that.
And less audio cutting, please. But let us move in to talk about one of the next big things, which was a big controversy when it happened, and I understand why, because it's a super fucking dumb decision. The air date. So, Doctor Who Series 1, Episodes 1 and 2, are they dropping it both at the same time, or is it one after the other? Because they say both at the same time. Yeah. So Episodes 1 and 2 will both be coming out on the 11th of May. And if you're in the UK, like we are, and like where Doctor Who is from, and it's, you know, a big part of the like cultural identity. It's a very British, like it's Doctor Who is a British thing. It will come out at midnight for all of us and our family and our kids to sit up and watch. Very dumb, very bad, because it's going to come out at like whatever time in the US. It's a much more palatable time in the US, but here in the UK it is airing at midnight, and then I think it's airing on BBC One at 7 p.m. Or something like that. And I reckon those ratings are going to be dog shit. I reckon those are going to be some of the lowest ratings we've seen for Doctor Who, because like fucking it'll be on iPlayer all day, so you could just watch the first 2 episodes. Why would you watch it again live if you've already seen it? And you're going to have to watch it as quick as possible because it's going to be spoiled for you immediately. I'm gonna wake up to notifications and shit on my phone that are gonna just spoil the 2 episodes for me, which is great. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, so I kind of do understand why Disney are doing this, because when BBC One air Doctor Who, it's not always the most important thing of the night. They have live events. Like football, for example, and if football,
Yeah.
if a football match lasts 15 minutes longer than it needs to, and Doctor Who's on directly after it, that means Doctor Who's going to be late by 15 minutes, and Disney will have to try and explain to their audience, no, our app isn't broken. Doctor Who will be 15 minutes late. And people will be like, yeah, but why is it late? Like, there's no reason
but like
for it to be late.
even if you're moving away from airing it live, which like okay, sure, because just live TV's dying.
Yeah.
Releasing it at midnight is still a dumb fucking choice.
Yes,
Like if it was to just go onto iPlayer and Disney Plus, you're just completely no longer caring about your UK audience, which is the loyal audience, which is the audience that has been there for 60 odd years. And yeah, you're trying to rebuild that market in the US and abroad and things like that. So it makes sense to prioritize them somewhat. But like the feeling online, I think, was very similar.
Yeah.
It's rubbed everybody the wrong way, and potentially even Russell T Davis, who was liking certain replies, being like, "This is a dumb choice. What are you doing this for?"
Yes, the midnight time release for me in particular is a bit of a nightmare because I usually work Saturday mornings. That means I have to go to bed early on Friday night, so I won't be able to watch Doctor Who at midnight, and I won't be able to watch it until like 3 o'clock on the Saturday afternoon, which is a long time to go without trying to avoid spoilers. Let's be honest, like
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
Like, episode 2 is going to be spoiled at 1 minute past midnight. I can guarantee that. Somebody's going to go...
people will skip to the end.
Yeah.
The same thing happened when it comes onto iPlayer. Like, because for a while they were, or like for the past little while they've done like it's airing live, but you can also just like it's on iPlayer right now. Like when at 7 o'clock you can watch the whole episode or just stick it on iPlayer and just skip to the end. And people used to skip to the end and spoil it straight away because people are bad and you can't trust people. You can't trust people at all.
Also, it just takes away one of my favorite things about Doctor Who. It's looking
Experiencing
forward...
it live with everybody.
Yeah, and it's like looking forward to it all day and then knowing that everyone is going to be watching it at 7 o'clock at night. And then going online immediately afterwards to see people talk about it and be part of that conversation. I think the conversation is going to really die down this year because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's one of the things that, like, even when Doctor Who's bad, like when you have like a stinker episode, it's always like fun to go online and complain about it with people or read people's funny comments and funny takes on that episode. And now that conversation's gonna be so fragmented, where it's gonna be like you're gonna get a lot of it probably at midnight from the US audience, and maybe some people from the UK that just are like cretins and don't go to bed, stay up way past their bedtime, and then maybe you'll get a little bit again at like 7 o'clock for the people that are watching it like live on BBC or something like that. But it's basically just gonna pitter out into nothingness, and it's gonna suck because it's gonna turn into one of those shows like on like Netflix and things like that, where to talk about it with your friends you need to put in a message first being like, is everybody caught up on Doctor Who? Has everybody had a chance to watch Doctor Who today? Rather than being like, okay, it's 7 o'clock, everybody I know is sitting down to watch Doctor Who right now, excellent, we can talk about it. It sucks.
Doctor Who was the last appointment viewing television I had, and it's a shame to see it go.
Yeah. Now I'm never going to watch live TV again.
Like, even if it released it at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. on a Friday night.
Sure, yeah, I can do 10
That's
o'clock,
fine. It doesn't make that much of a difference to the Americans, but it's also a more reasonable time for everyone in Europe, because everyone in Europe aren't going to stay up till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to watch this show. Like, and if it gets spoiled, if I get spoiled, sometimes I'm like, I'm not really keen on watching this show because, that spoiler doesn't sound good. I'm not into this show. Like, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully they change it.
Speaking of crazy things that have happened that are bound to upset some people, Stephen Moffat is back. The king has returned as predicted by us like a year ago. This was, I think everybody saw this coming, surely.
Yes.
Like, Moffat for ages has said that, I'm never coming back to Doctor Who, and very specifically said, like, I'd have to be insane to come back to Doctor Who, which he then was like, I guess I'm insane.
He never said I'm not coming back to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He always used terminology like, I would be insane if I was to return, and yes, I am insane to return.
Yeah, speaking on his return, Moffat said, yes, okay, fair enough. Apologies to everyone, I very slightly misled. I am in fact writing an episode of the series of Doctor Who, exactly like I said I never would. What can I tell you? There was begging, there was pleading, but finally Russell agreed to let me have another go. So long as I got out of his garden. Funny guy. Working with old friends and a brand new doctor, I couldn't be happier. Sorry, I was a bit reticent on the subject for so long. It was all part of an elaborate plan that would have delighted millions, but at the last minute, I forgot what it was. It was a tremendous honor. Julianne Robinson says, who is Julianne Robinson?
The director of the episode.
Director, yes. She said, it was a tremendous honor to direct episodes of Doctor Who for BBC and Disney+. This beloved franchise is 60 years old and still going strong. This is part of our collective memory as Brits. I've always admired Russell T Davies, and Ncuti Gatwa is an unbelievably talented actor who has stepped into the role of the 15th Doctor effortlessly, alongside the equally talented Millie Gibson. Stephen Moffat gave me an intense challenge as a director. I asked him for a keyword to describe the overall tone of the episode. He said Hitchcock. I can't wait to see what everyone thinks. I'm grateful to Bad Wolf, the BBC, and Disney+. It was an incredible experience. So obviously she's talking, like, if you're talking about Hitchcock, suspense, is what comes to mind, as well as, like, there's the very famous, like, Hitchcock quote where it's like, if you have somebody sitting at a table and then they explode, the audience is going to be confused. But if you have them sitting at a table and then you show a bomb under the table and it says 10, 9, suddenly the audience tense up and they're at the edge of their seat because they know that there's a bomb.
Even if the bomb doesn't go off, that still makes an intense scene because you're expecting it.
Yeah. And you end up, and the Moffat episode is rumored to be the one where Ncuti stands on a mine and can't move. Otherwise, he's going to blow up.
And everyone around him has to defend him against, I guess, aliens. So that's going to be a fun episode. Yeah. Like we see in the trailer, a shot of Millie Gibson with a big fucking gun, which is really fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And, Moffat's back as Doctor Who. Moffat is one of my favorite writers of all time. Mm-hmm. He's a, great writer, man. Very good writer, man. I loved his era of Doctor Who the most.
As a writer man yourself, that's the best way to describe him as a person. He's a very good writer man.
And he... how long until he's announced as showrunner for one of the spin-offs? How long do you think?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a couple of years.
6 months?
I don't see it happening, to be honest with you.
No, I see it happening. I absolutely see the Moffat spin-off show. The fucking Moffat's in charge of fucking the Unit show or something,
Oh, fucking the Unit show.
Well, yeah, that's what Moffat would like. If he could do it, he would.
Did you see Russell's Instagram post about this? He basically said that he asked Chibnall first, which is interesting. Chibnall declined because he's writing a book, and then he went and asked Moffat instead. Which a Chibnall episode would be interesting.
It would be really interesting to see what a Chibnall episode would be like edited by Russell T, like a modern Chibnall episode edited by Russell T Davies would be like, because Chibnall, like we have very famously on this podcast, if you're a long time listener, have a lot of thoughts on Chibnall. Every single episode, every single week we talk about him. But with his era of Doctor Who, he had some really good ideas that were really badly executed. And I think, we discussed this during his time. If he had somebody there to be like, oh, what if you did this and did that and your message got a little bit muddled at the end there? Boom, suddenly you've got a really good episode, because I think he's got it in him. I know he's got it in him to do something good with Doctor Who. But yeah, maybe a few years' time. Maybe once his book is out and he's had some break, some distance from the show, and maybe when people look a little bit more, because like time heals all wounds, people will look fondly back on the Jodie era eventually, where they're like, oh, was it so bad? Even though it was terrible. But I can see him coming back.
I'm looking forward to Moffat returning as a writer rather than a showrunner, because it's kind of similar points to what you just said. I think Moffat is better when he's focused on one script and he's able to focus on it and make it as good as possible, rather than 14 scripts a year and he has to juggle all of those balls in the air. I think he's better as a writer than a showrunner, in my opinion.
You also, Moffat is, responsible for some of the modern classics, Blink and things like that, which is when he was just write an episode for us, Moffat. Why don't you just a little, we need a grounded episode with a low budget and it doesn't really do much. And he's like, got you. I've got the instant classic episode right here. And, the Doctor's standing on a landmine, stuck in one location. That's a low budget episode. That's where Moffat shines. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Of course, a lot of people were upset by Moffat returning because they want brand new writers to the show, and you can still get brand new writers. I think if you have 2 or 3 brand new writers a year, that's a good quota, I guess. 2 or 3 a year, new writers.
I mean, we struggled, if you look at, the writers for, Modern Who, it's basically these 3 40-year-old guys.
Yeah.
For all of Modern Who's existence. But, as a fan of Moffat, I can't be upset that he's coming back. Yeah. And I do still think there's going to be room for new writers to show up and flourish in it, especially once these spin-offs start coming out as well, eventually, because I can see that being almost like a pipeline for Doctor Who writers, where it's like, oh, you get a small gig on the spin-off show that's you can take a bit more risks, you can show us your skill. Oh, you're really good. Guess what? You're in the big leagues now. Welcome to the show. Doctor Who, write something.
I can see it being the opposite, to be honest. You wrote this really good episode of Doctor Who. Let's give you the showrunner as. Let's give you the showrunner job.
You could get the showrunner job, but I just mean as a script writer.
Yeah.
You're as a first time script writer, it would be, or not even first time, you've got some experience under your belt, but you're not that well known or whatever. Would you risk giving them an episode of Doctor Who, or would you give them an episode of Unit so that they can show you what they've got? But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Moffat's return. I'm really excited for his episode. Called it. Can we called it? We knew he was coming back. Yes. We called that shit. We always call it. We're never surprised. Next in the news segment, we have got spoiler warning. Oh my god, for Susan. Okay, so spoiler ears. Just skip ahead however many minutes. I don't know, 6 minutes ahead. And I guess I'll give you a wave, and if you're an audio listener, I don't know, you're fucked, I guess. Here we go. Spoilers. Doctor Who, Susan Twist reprises big bad role for new series. Susan Twist, best known for her role on Coronation Street, is to return to Doctor Who as the mysterious. There's a typo in this article right at the top. You gotta love TV Zone. It's a really well written thing.
Where? Oh yeah, okay, I see.
Is to return to Doctor Who has the mysterious Susan Triad. Having previously appeared in episodes Wild Blue Yonder and The Church on Ruby Road, in almost blink and you'll miss them appearances.
Yeah.
With these characters.
I mean, in the first one, she's the best friend to what's his face, Isaac Newton.
Yeah, but she's got one. the stuff on, like, she's got like a, I don't know what you call it, something on her head, not a hat, but something on her head, and like she's dressed up in old timey gear, and her hair's all short, and then the next time you see her, she's got a red bandana on, big long hair. And if you're somebody like me that like really only pays attention to the shape of someone's hair, fucking different people, you know. Twist will play the role of Susan Triad, a tech businesswoman who is the head of Triad Technology, which is reportedly an ongoing storyline through the next series, having also been mentioned in last year's 60th anniversary specials. I wonder if she's got anything to do with the time agents and the episode with that, like, because clearly she can travel through time, so perhaps either they're hunting her, chasing her, or she's in charge of them or something like that, you know.
There's too many mysterious old ladies in this current iteration of Doctor Who, because we already have
Doctor's mom.
Wife.
Remember Doctor's mom
Yes.
as well? That was a mysterious old lady. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was only like,
a source
that was only like 6 episodes ago. That's insane.
Yeah. A source told The Sun, so what do we do when it's the sun?
Yes.
We get that tub of salt and we pour it down our throat. Susan's characters are going to appear through space and time, following the Doctor through his new adventures, but she won't be a friendly face. She's going to be a huge foe for the Time Lord and Ruby to face off against, and the reveal will be explosive. Within the upcoming series, audiences will see the Doctor and Ruby travel through time and space on adventures to unknown lands, to the Regency era in England, to outer space worlds, and the 60s. This season will also see the return of Michelle Greendage as Carla Sunday, Angela Whitner as Cherry Sunday, Anna Dobson as Mrs. Flood, as well as returning array of special guests. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing else in this.
Wow, this just goes on. This just goes on. Yeah, that's all the information you really know. God, fucking TV Zone. What a garbage website. Yeah, so Susan Twist, the big bad, potentially, for this series of Doctor Who. That's kind of fun. And, you know, it's some classic Russell T. Davies foreshadowing, like the Bad Wolf stuff, where he just puts it in your face and you're supposed to be like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, there's a little too much big bad going on at the moment, because also we have Anita Dobson, we have Susan Twist. Like we have a Toymakers Legions, we have Meet the Beeps boss. Like there's too much going on. I think keep it focused to like 1 or 2. I imagine. Hopefully it turns out well. Because at the moment it just sounds like a giant mess. You know. Hopefully it turns out well.
Yeah. Our next story. So you know, there's no more spoilers about Susan Twist. If that's what you were worried about. I did. I went like that. This is a relatively recent story, as like I was reading about it this morning, but like the news about it kind of came out yesterday, which is Mr. Russell T. Davies talking about the BBC and whether or not, you know, the BBC is gonna stick around and continue to be a thing. Speaking on the Fire Crotch and Normcore They Like to Watch podcast. That's an interesting name for a podcast. Russell, why didn't you come on to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast, to discuss things like this? We'll happily have you on. We'll have you on, Russell, on Who Watches Who, and I'll grill you. I'll give you a really hard interview. I'll be like, name 5 really good Chibnall era episodes, and then you'll have to like upset one of your close friends. I wouldn't do that to you. That sounds mean. Speaking of this podcast, Davis opened up about the partnership between the BBC and Disney for Doctor Who. This is taken from the Radio Times. We now live in a science fiction age. We live in a world of streaming. We live in a world where every 11-year-old is watching Stranger Things because there are 11-year-old kids in it, and that's their language, that's their culture, that's their reference, that's their muse. And this is true. When we were at Comic-Con last year, and they had the Stranger Things panel, it was nothing but fucking like 10-year-old kids that were interested in hearing what these like B-list characters from Stranger Things had to say. Yeah. And I was stunned. I was like, what the fuck are these kids watching Stranger Things for? It's so inappropriate for them.
One of the questions was literally, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, legit. Yeah, that's the age of the kids watching Stranger
Yes.
Things, the horror sci-fi show. Yeah. Davis added that when watching shows like Stranger Things and The Mandalorian that have such exposure on streaming platforms, he thought it would be a real shame for Doctor Who not to be up there amongst the big hitters. He continued, even before they approached me, I had already said in various interviews I think Doctor Who would have to become a co-production. There's no way that the BBC is going to fund that. And in terms of the BBC's future, Davis said, You've also got to look in the long term at the end of the BBC, which is somehow, surely, undoubtedly on its way in some shape or form. What, is Doctor Who going to die then? No, you've got to prepare for that kind of stuff, but all of that is kind of the flim-flam on top of the fact that I love it, and it's the only chance you have in television for me to really write in pictures. And so, like, that little section there, I think, has been kind of blown up massively into clickbait articles where it's like, Russell T Davies thinks the BBC will die. And I don't think that that's really what he's saying. I think he's saying that the BBC is going to change. You know, the way that TV is right now is going to continue to change, and the way that broadcast TV is going to change. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen with the BBC in terms of things like your TV license and, you know, things like that. You know, there's so much in the air. This is an election year. So, you know, I guess we'll see what happens.
Either way.
But he went on to...
Either way, the BBC definitely won't have the money for Doctor Who. That's why we need the Disney deal. Like, there's no other option at the end of the day, which is really sad.
I mean, they had to get Disney so that they could stop doing, like, close-ups, so that they could afford to do some wide shots, you know? He went on to say, if Disney collapsed tomorrow and we had to go back to making Doctor Who on a normal BBC budget, we'd all rally round and make it, and suddenly stories would become claustrophobic ghost stories, and a lot of people would like that very much. So I'm not saying you have to have this happen, but while it's happening elsewhere, I think it's unfair that it doesn't happen to Doctor Who, and it does open up stories that are now sometimes on a vast scale. So he's just talking about how more money means we can do more things, basically, which is, you know, it's justification, and I completely understand it. And I think in the long term, it's going to be beneficial for Doctor Who. There's definitely going to be decisions and things that Disney do that I don't like, because Disney do that all the time. And most of the things Disney do, I don't like. But hopefully Russell still has enough creative control that the show doesn't turn into Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, Russell T Davies does still have the control at the end of the day. He sometimes takes suggestions from Disney, and that's all that it is. Hopefully it stays like that, because if Russell goes and somebody else comes in and they're less experienced and they won't fight as much, we can see Doctor Who becoming just another Disney Plus show, which is disposable garbage these days, honestly. So, yeah.
Yeah. So our next story, which is the story that you said before we started recording, is going to be probably our biggest story and our most, like, the story that we talk about the most. And I don't really understand why, because it's almost a nothing story, where Russell T Davies, Jodie Whittaker, and Mark Gatiss were all at an award show, and they took a picture together, and that made everybody go like, "Oh my God, Jodie's coming back to Doctor Who!" And then somebody wrote an article saying, "What if the Doctor and or Ncuti Gatwa and Jodie did a crossover episode? That would be cool, wouldn't it?" And then they flooded 15,000 adverts onto this page. To make some like 50p or something off me scrolling on it. And yeah, sure, I could absolutely see Jodie coming back to do a multi-Doctor story. It happens all the fucking time. It's literally like one of the staples of Doctor Who.
But yeah, the headline to this is, people are convinced another epic Doctor Who crossover could happen after jaw-dropping photo. What's jaw-dropping about this photo? People met each other, semi-colleagues.
Yeah.
Like, okay. It just shows you how low journalism is these days, where something like this is important, I guess. Terrible.
Yeah, it's garbage. Garbage, who cares? Next up, we have got some Doctor Who comics. Coming soon, the 15th Doctor comic series. This is from DoctorWho.tv. Just before the 15th Doctor hits our screens, you can get an adventure in comic form. Titan Comics is pleased to announce that it is returning to the TARDIS once more for Free Comic Book Day with the beginning of the 15th Doctor's comic adventures. Pick up a copy of Doctor Who the 15th Doctor Free Comic Book Day edition, available in participating comic book shops on May 4th, Star Wars Day. Interesting. I'm going to see fucking Phantom Menace in cinemas on May 4th. I cannot wait. That
sounds terrible.
Goddamn so cool. Written by the master of sci-fi and fantasy, Dan Waters, who is responsible for things like Loki, Homesick Pilots, and the Sandman universe. This special issue kicks off an all-new Doctor Who comic series starring the 15th Doctor and his companion in time and space, Ruby Sunday. The launch of this new series in 2024 marks the 10th anniversary of the first Doctor Who comics under Titan Comics. The publisher first started traveling with the Doctor in 2014 and hasn't stopped since. And it will continue to do so with Ncuti's era. On Free Comic Book Day edition of Doctor Who the 15th Doctor, series editor Jake Devine said, Doctor Who Free Comic Book Day, goddamn, I've said that so many times, marks the first appearance of the 15th Doctor in Titan Comics, and I'm so excited. It feels like we've been waiting for this new era forever. We've got an incredible story to tell from a fresh creative team with a spectacular vision. I can't wait for fans to get stuck in. And then they give us a little teaser of the first few pages of the comic book, and I still hate the art style.
Yeah, the art style
I really want to
is
get
very
into Doctor Who
scratchy.
comics, but the art is always so fucking bizarre. And yeah, it's very scratchy. It's almost sketch-like, the art style, which it isn't terrible looking, and is probably better than like David Tennant's era comics. I fucking hated the art style in. But yeah, the Doctor Who comics, the art never clicks with me, and you know, in comic books, art is a huge part. It's a huge part of enjoying the comic book, and so yeah, I probably won't get this.
I probably won't either, but the cover does hint towards an Asylum of the Daleks type story with Cybermen instead of Daleks. There's like the 10th Planet Cyberman, or is the Invasion Cyberman? Yeah. So that looks cool. That's a cool cover. Whether or not the story is good, I might pick up the trade paperback. I doubt it, but either way, it's cool that Doctor Who is still continuing in comics. I'm surprised that Marvel or Boom Comics haven't picked up the rights to Doctor Who, because they are both owned by Disney. I'm surprised Disney aren't publishing Doctor Who comics, but maybe we'll see that soon, which is kind of depressing.
Well, you can get that Marvel Doctor Who crossover episode in the issue in the comics, you know.
No.
But our next story is, I guess, an interesting one. BBC will stop using AI for Doctor Who promotion after receiving complaints. So the BBC marketing teams used AI as part of a small trial to come up with some text for 2 promotional emails and mobile notifications, according to complaints on the website, which was intended to highlight Doctor Who's programming. But people were upset by this because people were like, why are you using AI? It's bad, smelly, stinky. And, you know, I personally speaking, I don't give a shit. I don't give it. Like, use AI if you want. Like, fucking, who cares? It's a new thing. People are always hesitant with new art, with new technology, and this is a huge leap in new technology. You know, this is probably like the biggest leap in technology we've had since the smartphone. It would probably be the last thing that I could think that like totally changed everything. And back then, you know, there people were like, "Why do I need like the touch screen? I like my buttons. I don't need a fucking phone that does that." And eventually they came around to it. This has got that slight hint of, or like the slight change in perspective though, where people's jobs are kind of on the line, but people's jobs are always on the line when new technology comes around. that's like mobile phones stopped the people that used to connect to fucking like, or not the mobile phone, but like wireless phone technology and stuff. You know, it used to be like, hey, connect me, operator, connect me to so and so, and they'd be like, yes, I'll look, and then they'd listen in and spy. But now that's not a job anymore. You know, new technology brings in new jobs, gets rid of old jobs because culture progresses and changes things. And I think if we use AI more as a tool to assist rather than replace, we can do really cool things with it. And you know, people are just very aggressive. And online, there's no nuance. That's the thing. Is online, there's good and bad. And AI has been stuck in the bad camp, so it's bad. There's nothing good ever about it. You can't say good things about AI, or you're bad as well.
Yeah, honestly, I don't care about this specific instance, but if they started using AI in the TV show, yes, I would have a problem with that. Because, you know, if he used AI to render a dinosaur in the background, no. You know, but
I don't know. I think I think you could do something interesting, like say that you did like an episode about an AI, like a Doctor Who episode about an AI like taking over, becoming like sentient or something, and then you fed those ideas into an AI, got it to generate a script for you, and then obviously you would go through and edit and change and structure and correct dialogue and things like that, as you would with any other thing. And it's just like, this is a AI-based episode written by an AI for this sci-fi show. I think that's one of the most future things you could possibly do.
Yeah, the problem I would have with that is AI typically just borrows elements from what's already online, which
sure, but you have that's the interesting argument for, and you know, like playing devil's advocate, because like honestly, when it comes to AI thing, I straight up have no strong opinions either way. If something uses AI, I'm like, okay, interesting choice. If something doesn't, I'm like, cool. You know, I don't really care. I can see the negatives, I can see the positives. I'm kind of on the fence still. But if you're a human being writing something, there's no such thing as original thought. Every single thing that anybody's ever done has been done, and you will borrow it from somebody else. And every single human being that is going to be writing Doctor Who is online, sees posts from on. I mean, unless you're Chris Chibnall, who isn't online, but is online, sees posts, gets influenced by things, gets influenced by other media, writes those down. I don't know how different that is from an AI. You know, I guess you've got the question of sentience and the question of being able to filter and change things, but that's where I think the human element comes in to edit the script. Because if you can find something where it's like, oh shit, like you just completely took that from something else, I can change that because I'm a person who can think, I can recognize when something is like just completely taken from whatever the fuck. And I think it's also the joyous form of the internet and art in general. Is kind of like a melting pot where everybody's work influences everybody else's and turns into something else. I think the issue that we struggle with right now is because we're still in the really early stages of AI, it's shit. Like, most of the things they put out is dog shit. So, you know, I'm not saying, like, I want, like, an AI episode, like, next week. I'm talking, like, 5, 10 years down the line, 15 years, when it's way more advanced, way more interesting. You know, assuming it's something that catches on and continues to develop, I think it's a really kind of compelling future that we could potentially have.
I'm definitely against it in its current form. They just went on strike last year over the use of AI in scripts and all that, which, you know, what they were trying to do is, let's get a script written by AI and let's hire a writer just to smooth it all over, basically. So at the end of the day, there's no originality. No. I'm against it in its current form.
Yeah, sure. The current form of AI is pretty miserable, and you know, as a writer myself, if I had written a Doctor Who script and then, you know, been like, "Hey, BBC, I've worked really hard on this script," and they're like, "Oh, well done, Matthew, but we're giving this episode to a computer," like, you would lose that, and you know, you have that whole argument of art itself is this inherently human thing. Like it's got to have this passion, this drive, this soul to the work, like metaphors and whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Again, as I said, I can see both sides. I'm completely on the fence. I have no strong opinions one way or the other.
But hey, we already have an AI written episode. It's called Legends of the Sea Devils.
Come on, an AI would make a much more coherent episode.
You got a point.
Anyway, our next story is you can build your own Dalek thanks to Hatchett's latest Doctor Who part work. This is a magazine where you buy each issue and you get the parts to build Dalek, and you put it together week on, week after, you know, each week or each month or whatever. You get a new piece and you build a Dalek, and at the end of it, it's a whole Dalek. And didn't someone work out like the price of this thing's like 11 grand? Something ridiculous. Yeah.
It's £1,600, something like that. Which is insane.
1,600, yeah.
Which
it is a lot of money. But you know, you do get a Dalek.
Yeah.
And I would like a Dalek. And, you know, £1,600 for a Dalek? That doesn't sound too, you know, it's a Dalek.
Yeah.
How big is it? Do we know how big it's going to be? Because if it's like
scale.
this big...
It's half scale, so...
That's still pretty big. That's like what? Like a Dalek is like what? Like 4 foot? So it's like a,
something
like
that,
a 2 foot Dalek. You know, like it depends on the version of the Dalek, I guess. But between 4 and 5 foot, I would say, it's probably the size of a Dalek. So that's still, it's like a toddler. It's like a toddler Dalek. Yeah, it's not bad.
But yeah,
but I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna waste my money on it.
Oh yeah, it's weekly, so that's like £50 a month for like 3 years.
Yeah.
To collect this magazine. And that just reminds me of kids, you know, you would always see adverts, collect a human skeleton each week. I mean, you'd get the first like 20 odd issues, but then, you know, your mum would have to budget heavily, or... You know, you just get tired of having to wait so long to complete your fucking skeleton. You'd be like, yeah, I'm done with this. I don't want it anymore. So, I
definitely...
It's a big scam, I'm saying.
It is a big scam. I definitely had stuff when I was a kid that was like from build your own thing from a magazine. I don't think I ever finished anything.
Yeah, no.
I can't remember anything getting finished, so I don't think I did. But yeah, waste your money on that if you have insanely amount of disposable income. Our next story is about the BAFTAs and about... They just make BAFTAs for fucking anything, don't they? This isn't a real thing. This isn't a real award. Congratulations. We've got a BAFTA for the most memorable moment in which Doctor Who has been nominated for the reveal of the 15th Doctor with Ncuti Gatwa. And that... almost like it's cool. Doctor Who's getting nominated for a BAFTA. You can say it's a BAFTA-nominated show, which I think it definitely already was. But awards like that, I think, kind of delegitimize the rest of the awards. You know, where it's like, oh yeah, I won a BAFTA for coolest shoes. You know, like it's like, who gives a shit at that point? You got BAFTAs for everything. It just no longer means anything.
Have you seen the other 6 nominated memorable moments? The first one is insane.
You've got Beckham from the Netflix. You've got Netflix's documentary or reality show, whatever the fuck it was, Beckham, where David teases Victoria about her working class upbringing, which was a very funny meme for a day. Not even that, an afternoon. Now there's a BAFTA nominated moment. You've got Happy Valley on BBC One when Catherine Carwood and Tommy Lee Royce's final kitchen showdown. I don't know what that means. In Succession from Sky Atlantic, Logan Roy's death. Spoilers. In The Last of Us from Sky Atlantic, Bill and Frank. Just them. Just Bill and Frank. In Piano, Channel 4, 13-year-old Lucy stuns commuters with jaw-dropping piano performance. So those are nominated for memorable moments. Is Bill and Frank a moment? Isn't that like the
guess.
whole episode from the Last of Us? Is like that like love story between them and the tragedy? Is it just a moment? Fuck it, it's just a tiny little bit.
But
it sounds like a bullshit award.
It is. It reminds me of the Oscars a few years ago when we did the most fan hyped moments, and like the scene from the Justice League movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League, where the Flash enters the Speed Force 1, and people are very happy about that. Apparently, the crazy Snyder fans online are like, "Yeah, Zack Snyder won an Oscar for this." No, he didn't. It's a most memorable moment award. Like, who cares?
Yeah, it's a bullshit award.
It's bullshit.
Our next story we have got is about Mr. David T. Tennant. The T stands for Tennant. Is the Genius Game. David Tennant to front reality competition format on ITV. BAFTA. Oh, where have we heard about them before? An Emmy Award-winning actor, David Tennant, is inviting the country's most brilliant minds to take part in the Ultimate TV Challenge. Genius Game is a brand new reality show that will see strategically minded players chosen not just for their high intellectual prowess, but also their social IQ face the ultimate battle of survival. To win, contestants will participate in a host of never-before-seen games, all designed to not only test their intellectual acumen, but encourage them to carefully and creatively use the art of manipulation to outfox their opponents and win a cash prize. Produced by Remarkable Entertainment, part of Banijay UK, viewers will see David take on the role of the creator in the 8-part series, which originates from South Korea, and guide players as they attempt to navigate each uniquely crafted challenge. But who has what it takes to deceive, collude, and outsmart their opponents to become the first UK winner of Genius Game? And the article continues on for absolutely ages because it's written by TV Zone, and they just like to waffle for a while.
But if you scroll down, we do have like one of the best TARDISes I've ever seen.
I was about to say the picture of David Tennant standing on the set. They've even got hexagonal things on the wall. And like a table, it's straight up a TARDIS. They're leaning into that, which I kind of like. It's kind of cute. It's cool looking. Are you going to watch Genius Game? I will.
I don't watch any quiz shows, but I might check this out. I don't know. And just for David Tennant.
It's on ITV. Who watches ITV?
True. But yeah, it's cool, David Tennant. How often do we see David Tennant on TV? Hardly ever. So it's good to see him on television.
The guy doesn't get enough work.
I know.
The guy doesn't get enough work. Yeah. Next up, we are into Big Finish releases for next month. Nice. We've managed to keep this to a relatively concise episode. That's pretty good. As we look to what Big Finish is going to be releasing in April. First up, we have got Torchwood Missing Molly. Molly went missing from an estate 12 years ago. Yanto remembers it as he lived just around the corner. Only Molly's come back. Yanto's just as interested as her parents in what happened to her. So cool. That sounds like a Torchwood episode of Big Finish.
Yeah, this reminds me of Adrift, that episode written by Chris Chibnall we covered a few years back, where it's missing kid and Gwen gets way too close to like Torchwood secrets and discovers the missing kid is still alive and he's an old man and he's scarred and shit like that. Of course Gareth David Lloyd as Yanto is in this. He's like the only guy from the Torchwood TV show who can still appear in these Torchwood audio dramas. Like, he's not busy enough, so good on him, I guess.
Yeah. Get that bag, you know. Are you gonna take the next one?
Yes, the next one is, give me a second, it's the Paternoster Gang, Trespassers 2, the casebook of Paternoster Road. Jesus Christ. In Victorian England, the great detective Madame Vastra has her resourceful spouse Jenny Flint and their loyal valet Strax solve conundrums, fight injustice and capture criminals, but an enemy has taken up residence undetected. Vastra believes trespassers are close at hand and seeks out clues in some of the gang's previous cases. We've got 3 stories this time. I don't care. I don't care.
I'm not really interested in this story either. I like the Pastor Noster gang. I'm really sad that there wasn't enough of them in this show, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we could have done with seeing them more, because they only show up, 2-3 times? A handful of times.
Yeah, they only... the last time they appear is in Capaldi's first episode, and then they're gone completely, which is sad.
Yeah, it is sad, because I really like them, yeah.
Yeah, but Tom Baker is in this one. Tom Baker. The last one had Paul McGann, so they're meeting all the Doctors, so good on them, I guess.
Yeah. The next up, we've got Doctor Who, The Fifth Doctor Adventures, The Dream Team. Mysteries come in all shapes and forms, from a small-scale murder to an alien conspiracy. But when they arise, the Doctor, Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric are the perfect team to deal with them. This is 2 stories with a 4-part story and a 2-part story. The Merfolk Murders by Tim Foley and Dream Team by Lizzie Hopley. So, you know, Fifth Doctor story... Cool beans. I'm also not gonna the issue that we have when we've come to Big Finish, I think, with this section is whenever they release stuff, we don't care about it. Thankfully, April's quite a quiet month. There's only 2 more releases coming out. Fuck yeah, hell yeah, Big Finish. Do less. That's a good thing. Do less, because your quality will go up if you do less, please.
The next one is the 4th release or episode in Doctor Who, Sontarans vs. Rutans, in name only. And it's a War Doctor story, but the young War Doctor, because obviously John Hurt is dead. Nice.
Yeah.
In the depths of the Time War, a routine attack on Time Lord facility leads to Gallifrey declaring a vicious reprisal. But not all Time Lords support the action. One thinks there's more to the situation than meets the eye. Transformers. And this Time Lord was once called the Doctor. Nice. Nothing That's about the story. I get nothing from it.
I think I like the poster. I think it's interesting that they're using the David Tennant era Sontarans and not the most recent iteration that we saw in Chris Chibnall in Flux, which were a really good redesign, I thought, of those Sontarans. But they're sticking with the David Tennant era Sontarans, I guess, which, you know, whatever. I guess it's the more consistent through line. But I did enjoy the Chibnall. It was one of the good things about Flux. It's one of the few good things was that redesign was really good.
If Strax appeared in Flux, do you think he would also get a redesign or what? I don't understand how are the redesigns canon in the Doctor Who universe, or probably not? But it's
maybe
weird.
Maybe it's like because there's like so many Sontarans, you know, and every single one of them is a clone. So maybe it's like this batch of Sontarans clone got a bit of goop in it, and that's why they came out weird looking.
Oh, like the Bad Batch,
you know. Yeah. It's like the Bad Batch, where it's just these are some weird looking ones.
Oh god, the next one is like one of the ugliest covers I've seen in a while.
It's pretty bad. The next and the last Big Finish release for April is Dark Gallifrey, the start of the Dark Universe with Morbius Part 1. Hell yeah, it's Morbin time. When things turn dark and you're all alone, there is one traveler of time and space, a wanderer in the 4th dimension, a renegade Time Lord who will always be there to bring back the light. But the thing about Time Lords is they can't all be heroes. The time has come for the last Time Lord battleship, the Proteus, to leave the planet Karn and return to Gallifrey victorious. But her voyage home will not be easy. The captain is sick, the crew is restless, and there are dark forces lurking in the hold below. I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna listen to this. I like the meme of Dark Gallifrey though, so respect.
I still don't understand what this story really is. Why Is it connected?
But you gotta listen and find out.
I don't.
You gotta
care.
you gotta listen.
I don't
You gotta listen and
care.
find out.
Yeah, Big Finish.
Yeah.
Not a good month. Sorry to say. Actually, I don't care about Big Finish. Why are we still doing this?
Yeah. Dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Hey, if
but
any listeners can recommend a good Big Finish story for us to check out, just recommend it below. Yeah. There's also the free Big Finish podcast, which just started releasing episodes today, so I might check that out because I think they released a David Tennant episode today. Because they were like, yeah, it's Matthew's birthday, might as well give him a free treat, you know.
Yeah, that was very nice of them. So go back and listen to that. We will be back next week with the April Fool's episode.
Yes.
Which we will be covering an episode of
Legends of Tomorrow. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is a season 2 episode where George Lucas is best friends with Rory from Doctor Who, and also Captain Jack Harkness wants to kill them both.
Yeah, cool. Sounds great. I can't wait. I've never seen Legends of Tomorrow, so I assume I will be very confused and think it's bad. But we will be doing that because it is April Fool's Day very soon, and we always do something silly for the week of April Fool's Day. After that, we will continue. We will go back into War Games and look at episodes 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 throughout the rest of April, and then close it off with looking at a Sarah Jane Adventures episode. So that's pretty exciting things coming up. Be sure to subscribe if you are watching us here on YouTube at Who Watches Who Pod, where you can see us in video form. We're also available in audio form everywhere you get podcasts: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. There's an RSS feed, bunch of links in the description. Use them at your own discretion. Buy my book, Can You Taste the Color Orange? Available everywhere you get books. And until then, we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.